Hi everyone, thanks for tuning in. Today we are going to do a few poses at the wall. So these are amazing, particularly for recovery. I've used these a lot with athletic teams that I've worked with, particularly to help return the body to a state of ease and relaxation, and as well to help drain any of the cellular debris, the lactic acid, things that accumulate after a hard training or a hard practice session. So all you need is a mat and a wall. Have your shoes and socks off. What you're gonna do is you're just gonna sit with your hip right up against the wall, and then basically you're gonna lie down, and as you lie down, your feet are going to spin up the wall. Now, I'm fairly close to the wall. I can pretty much feel my sit bones right there, but I'm able to do that with my lower back flat on the floor. So if you are here because your back body is a little bit tight, then what you need to do is actually just scooch away from the wall until you can find that your pelvis is resting on the floor. Okay, so that's really important. As we go through these postures, we want to make sure that we have that nice solid foundation of our body on the mat, okay? So typically when I do this, I would bring my arms away from the sides of my body for a few moments and just settle into this time where I'm going to focus on my body and my breath and allow the rest of the day to fall away. So I would start by just really noticing my breath. Breathe in and out through the nose, and even just noticing the breath the very moment that it enters my body. So feeling it at the very tip of my nose, moving into my nostrils, up into my sinuses, into my throat, down into my lungs, and then down into my belly, feeling the fullness of the breath, and then allowing it to simply flow out all by itself. An analogy I like to use is that breathing in is almost like picking up a ball and holding it way up above your head. And when it's time to exhale, it's like you just let go of the ball falls to the floor. And that's a helpful analogy for me when I think about my exhale, particularly just letting it go, letting it fall. So after a few rounds of breath, you're feeling a little bit calmer, a little bit more settled, perhaps a little bit more tuned into the body, then get you to focus back into the legs and feel the feet, okay? The heels pressing against the wall. And you can take a peek at your toes here. See if you can really drive your heels towards the ceiling while pulling the toes back towards your face. So I imagine that if I were to come around, I could put a teacup and sit it onto the top of your feet, and it would sit there nicely, almost like your feet were like a little table. Now, that may not happen right away, right? We may have some tension through the feet that holds them in a particular position, but over time with practice, that can be something that we work to. Okay. It's really just also feeling through the backs of the legs and the calves as you press your heels to the ceiling. Okay, and then we're going to switch this up actually and point the toes towards the ceiling. So this time noticing it through the fronts of the feet, the shins, the thighs. I like to also just roll my feet a little bit, so I'll kind of turn the baby toe edges of my feet towards the wall and notice how that shifts things. And then perhaps roll the big toe edges of the feet towards each other. And again, notice where sensation changes. Okay, and then I'll come back to center and pull my toes towards my nose again. And then I'll press my toes to the ceiling, doing that a couple of times. Good, and then at this one, I'm actually going to just pull my right ankle away from the roof, or from the wall, and just start to do some nice gentle ankle circles. So you might notice any popping or cracking in the ankles. Sometimes that stuff is okay. Just make sure it's not causing any pain. Okay, and then go in the other direction. And we're just really creating some warmth in the joints, getting that synovial fluid moving. You can rest your right heel back. And then with the left, same thing, just bringing the heel away from the wall, doing some nice slow circles in one direction. Okay, and then switching up. And you might even be able to really pay attention to the other parts of your body that are a part of this movement. So what's happening in through the calf as you do this? What's happening in through the hip? Maybe even the glute. All right, and then I'll press my heels back onto the wall. Now, if you're actually looking at your feet, if you don't have socks on, you might actually notice that your feet are changing color, and that is because the blood is draining out of the feet. So you might also experience little bits of tingliness. That's all good. The blood will come back, and it's going to be re-oxygenated and refreshed when it does. So that's really great. So from here, I'm actually going to give my feet a little break, though. I'm going to bring the soles of my feet together. I'm just going to slide my feet down the wall into a butterfly. So this could be at any depth, right? It could be here, could be way down to the ground. Again, the important thing is that the low back stays on the floor. So remember, you can always move yourself away from the wall if you need a little bit more room. So sometimes I like to play here with this, and I will feel like I want a little bit more out of this, the depth of this stretch. And so I can gently press my hands onto my thighs and just sort of, a little bit of pressure directing the knees towards the wall. So sometimes that feels really good. But another thing you can also do is you can actually create a little bit more awareness and engagement through the outer thighs, and think instead about drawing your knees to the wall. So you're gonna have a little bit more squeezing into the glutes. Again, we wanna make sure the low back doesn't lift up, so we're not squeezing to that capacity, but just a different sensation instead of instead of pushing. We want to actually use the body and pull instead. And whatever we're doing here, we continue to work to bring our awareness back to our breath, because it's pretty easy to get lost in the thoughts when you're just laying on your back. The stuff, all the monkey mind that comes up. So, be aware if you're actually here, focused in your body, or if you are off doing something else in your mind. That's the whole process, the whole practice of mindfulness, is to just keep bringing yourself back. Good, so then I would relax through the hips, take my feet back up the wall, and do as I did before, pull the toes towards the face, and then press the toes towards the ceiling. And you could hang out here for a little while, if that feels good. Okay, another option that I would give you is to open the legs against the wall with straight legs like the pages of a book. So you're just going to allow the legs to open to the sides to the depth that is appropriate for you. What we want to think about is that the toes are in line with the kneecaps, in line with the hips. Okay. Again, I like to think about pressing the heels away, and then I'm engaging through the legs to pull them a little bit closer to the floor. So you're going to feel this in the inner thighs. And remember, again, we always need to be breathing first. So if this is causing you to gasp and to lose your breath, then just back off a little bit, okay? The other thing that's really interesting to notice here is that the body changes over time. So you might start here, and after a couple of breaths, you suddenly realize that your legs can slide a little further down the wall. So don't expect to move into the depth of a posture the very second that you sit down. That takes some patience, and it takes some time, and it takes some work, but it does happen. So you can just relax here, again, coming back to your breath, noticing if the thoughts are starting to creep in, just noticing that they're there, giving yourself permission to just bring yourself back to being here. Find some part of your breath that you can connect with or draw your attention to. Just a couple more breaths here. You might try and slide into a little bit more depth if you feel like that's available for you. And then, you can use an inhale, draw your feet back up to center, and again, just pausing here for a moment with the heels pressing towards the ceiling and the toes pulling back. back towards the nose. Pointing the feet. Good. Now, another one we can do here that I really like because it really protects the spine. The spine stays nice and straight on the floor as we work into the hips a little bit. So what we're going to do is move into this really slowly and gently. So you're going to take the right ankle and you're going to cross it over the left. Okay, so you can see that's a super small movement. Okay, and my hips didn't shift as I did that. Then I'm just going to slowly start sliding my right ankle down my left leg. My right knee is kind of coming off to the side. And I'm just going to go as far as I can. Now for some of us, we're going to get to about here and notice that our hips are starting to shift off to the side or curl up or something is changing. And so when we find that, that's where we're going to stop. This is a really therapeutic way of working through hip mobility. So we listen to the signs that the body gives us. And when things start to move in ways where other things might be compensating, then we don't go there. Okay, so this is one of those less is more things. Okay, so this might be where you're at. You're going to think about trying to draw the right knee back towards the wall so it's not pointing up by your shoulder. Okay. Then the other thing we can do if we're still looking for a little bit more depth is we can start to bring the left heel and slide it down the wall. So that's going to bend the knee and then press the thigh in a little bit, the shin bone I should say, a little bit closer to us. We're still working on keeping that right knee pressed towards the wall. So again, if you start to bring your knee in and your left knee in, and your right knee's poking you in the face, you just want to back off that a little bit, okay? We can rest here. Sometimes what I like to do, because for me gentle movement is very soothing, is I'll actually just rock a little bit side to side through the hips. And you'll notice different feelings perhaps in through the hips or the side body, or the shoulder blades. Really interesting to notice how everything's connected. Okay, and again, just like we did in the other posture, after a few breaths, things change. So you may be able to find a little bit more depth in the posture. But know that that is not a requirement. Out of this, just like the way we went in. We slide the left heel back up the wall, we slide the right leg up the left, and we bring the heel back to the wall. Flex the feet, point the feet. Good. And we'll switch sides. So we're going to take the left ankle, cross it over the right, really slowly start to slide the left ankle down the right shin, and I'm thinking about what's happening in my hips. Something starts to shift, that's where I stop. And then I'm going to work to pull my left knee a little bit closer to the wall, right? So I'm engaging through the outer thigh. Checking that out for a moment. And then if I'm looking for more, if that feels good and I haven't compensated anywhere, starting to bring the right heel down the wall slightly. And this side could be quite different than the left, than the right. So just noticing, right, and remembering it's not a race, it's not a competition, you're not judging yourself, you're just aware of what's happening. Keep bringing your focus back to your breath. The body every once in a while for any other tension. So what's happening through the tops of the shoulders and the jaw, what's happening in the forehead, just keeping as much ease in other parts of the body as you can. A couple more breaths here. And slowly coming out. Sliding the right heel back up the wall, sliding the left heel back up the leg, both heels coming back, flexing the feet, pointing the toes. And from here, what I like to do is just kind of bring both feet down the wall and hug the knees in towards the chest. So depending what your what is available for you. You might just hold each shin, or you might interlace fingers around the legs, or you might be able to actually wrap the elbows around and wrap the opposite elbows, whatever feels good. You're going to tuck your chin to your chest slightly, keep the spine nice and long, and really gently roll a little bit to your right. Just notice what you feel in through the sides of the spine and in through the hips. And then come back through center, and again, just roll a little bit to the other side, noticing what you feel and where you feel it. Keep breathing. And I might do that just a couple times each side because it feels good. And then whatever side feels most natural for you, you're just going to roll over onto that side. Keep your knees hugged into your chest and just pause here. You can cradle your head in your elbow crook. Taking nice big breaths here, really soothing breaths, focusing on the exhale. One of the most amazing things we can do to help our bodies relax and their minds relax is to be grateful. So cultivate a thought of gratitude here, whether it's for something or someone in your life that you're grateful for. Just hold that close for a moment. And when you're ready, you can press your hand into the floor to help you sit up. I seem to have a little nap. There we go. Just take a moment to close your practice before you rush off to the rest of your day. So sitting tall and proud, just feeling into the body for a moment. Bring your hands to the center of your chest, press your thumbs into your sternum. Recognizing all of the amazing energy and light that we have within ourselves and within everybody else. Namaste. Thank you for joining me. Have an awesome day.